Hey, Triple P Nation. Guys, can you do me a quick favor? Do you like watching videos, YouTube videos? Can you go subscribe at Triple P Life YouTube channel? We've been uploading some really incredible content specifically for you over the last few months. Of course, we've got our podcasts up there, our weekly success snack segment, all that's there for you and so much more. We would love for you to join us on the YouTube channel so we can share more great content so then you can share it with other people as well too. And of course, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome to the Age of Awakening.
Please identify yourself. Enter.
Hey, Triple P Nation, welcome back to the podcast, where this week we're going to explore the tools, tactics, and strategies to help you achieve personal and business mastery. And this week we're going to be focusing on the business, and particularly marketing and promotion. Now, before you turn off, okay, it's about social media, right? If you're in business, how do you up-level your business utilizing the most advanced techniques, understanding why social media marketing is essential to your business? How do you create brand awareness? How do you identify specifically target audiences? How can you geo-target them? And can AI revolutionize your marketing? You're going to find all that out this week with my very special guest, Rachel Strella. Rachel is the founder and CEO of Strella Social Media. She's celebrating 15 years of unparalleled success in the social media industry by leveraging her expert team. Now, under her leadership, Rachel has become a trusted name in the industry, regularly contributing to small business trends and featured in prominent publications such as Social Media Today, Forbes, PR Daily, and much more. With a forward-thinking approach, Rachel is at the forefront of leveraging AI to revolutionize social media management, enhancing productivity, streamlining processes, and integrating cutting-edge technology to drive exceptional results. I'm really excited to have her join me in just a minute. But before we do, for all those new followers and listeners, thank you so much for being here today. For those of you who've been here for 6 years, and that's right, we're about to celebrate our 6th anniversary of the Triple P Life podcast, which originally began, for those who didn't know, as the Power, Passion, Prosperity podcast, which is all about empowering your dreams, igniting your passion, and accelerating your prosperity in the 4 key areas of life. And this has been an absolute thrill and joy to be behind this mic each and every week. Why? Because I love serving. I love you. I love people. I love helping. It's what my calling is. In any way I can help you improve and up-level your life, this is what I'm here to do. Now, not to pat myself on the back, but I don't need to do this anymore. I can walk away, never work another day in my life, but I don't consider this work. This is a passion. This is a real privilege to be behind this mic and to have this platform to be able to share with you my wealth of knowledge and experience and wisdom, 35 years in business. And you get to learn all the stupid things I've done, all the mistakes I made, so you don't have to repeat them, so you can accelerate your growth in whatever area of life that you choose to do so you can live your Triple P life. And that's the whole process. That's the whole point of this podcast. So again, excited to have Rachel on. Sit back, relax, enjoy my interview. Hey, Triple P Nation, welcome back. As I mentioned, this week, my special guest is Rachel Strella, who's the founder and CEO of Strella Social Media. And I'm so excited to have her on this week. Rachel, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, as I mentioned when we were having our conversation before we went to the start recording, is that I work with a lot of small business entrepreneurs. I am as well, too. And as an entrepreneur, particularly a small business entrepreneur, you wear so many hats. And depending on the moment and day, it could be, at one moment you're the salesperson, the other person, you're delivering the product and service. Now you're a manager, you're the maintenance guy, whatever. And then there's this thing that has to drive leads into your business, and that's called marketing. And I know a lot of small business entrepreneurs think they can do it on their own. They dabble in it and they're ineffective. And then they reach out to me as like, I don't have enough new business. How do I get new business? And I'll ask them, what's your marketing program? And it's like, well, my sister's cousin's aunt posts on Facebook twice a week for us. And, so what is the number one challenge small business entrepreneurs face when it comes to marketing and promoting their business?
Okay, that's a great question. I feel like they get impatient, and consistency is really key. It really is. So, and I get it. When you're starting out or you have a small business, you need to start driving revenue. But social media alone, especially just going right out of the gate, is not usually the way to drive revenue. And I think that's the biggest mistake that they make is like, I'm just going to get on social media. I'm going to post whenever, and in comes the leads. There's a lot of strategy that goes into that, and a lot of consistency, a lot of forethought, and a lot of listening to the audience before you get to that point where it's revenue bearing.
Got it. So then if I was coming to you and I just opened a new business, which I said I just did, you would tell me what then? What would I do first before I would, focus in and get my social media marketing dialed in?
That's a great question. I would find out what it is that you're selling, what it is that your audience wants. Because a lot of people have a lot of entrepreneurs. Now, you have a lot of businesses. I think you said you have 19.
Yes.
But a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that don't have as much experience as you, they have a great idea and they don't really have anything that the market actually needs. So a big part of this is, what is it that you're offering that people actually want? Whether it's something they're consuming, they're buying, there is a service, whatever that is. And that's where we start. And unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs have great ideas, but not necessarily something that other people want yet.
It's a really good point. I love that you said that, because one of the things I always tell entrepreneurs when you first launch or prior to launching, you should, first of all, identify your 4 cores, which is what's the purpose, the mission, the values, and the core beliefs of the business. In other words, if I was to cut you, how do you bleed? How does your community see you, and how do you want to be seen? And then when it comes down to what's your value proposition, who's your target audience? What do you provide that's unique and different? What place in the market are you filling that either someone isn't or isn't doing very, very well? So I love that you said that, because that's really in line specifically what we talk about. So before we get into some of the real specifics, tell me how you got into this industry and, what made you passionate about being an expert.
It was by default, like many entrepreneurs. I didn't go to school to do this. I went to school for journalism. And in my first marriage, my husband got a job as a journalist, and he was making $9 an hour, no benefits, working really crappy hours. And I thought, okay, forget this. So fortunately, my degree, which is in communications, prepared me for lots of things. So I went into the field of marketing and sales. And I was going through marketing and sales jobs, and there's just something that wasn't working for me. And at the time, I had a mentor. Her name was Maria. And she's listened to my story, and she's like, I think you might be an entrepreneur. I think you need to be your own boss. And that day, she went to a social media marketing boot camp. This was in 2010. So she was so overwhelmed. She's like, I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to get on LinkedIn. I don't want to blog. She's like, somebody like you, who's young, I was young at the time, can help me do this. So, how about you be somebody who shows people the ropes on social media? So alongside my current day job, at the time, I started having a few customers that wanted help with this. And the first one, I thought I was going to meet with them, set up their LinkedIn, show them how to do it. They were like, oh, we don't want to learn how to do it. We just want you to do it for us. And so that's when my social media management business began. And that's been what it is for 15 years, just helping customers do everything for them.
So then what is the difference between social media management and social media consulting?
Yeah. So the social media consultant actually has a fun job because they get to be like, okay, so I looked at all your channels and here's the strategy, here are the things that you need to do, and I can give you some guidance. Okay. The social media manager has to do all the work. So once we have all those things that we need to do, we have to actually do all the implementation. So we're doing, the content development, asset creation, creating all of the copy, scheduling the copy, doing all the analytics, community management, which is huge. And all alongside the client who we're hoping is going to give us a couple of nuggets of things to help us do our job, like a video here and there, a blog post that we can edit and post, things like that. But I think that the biggest thing is just guiding you versus basically someone doing the majority of the work. And the one thing that I've noticed in my years of doing this is that a lot of companies are good at really one or the other. And so we've gotten good at doing both. So we can be the consultant and the social media manager.
I would find that to be very beneficial because sometimes, you can find a great consultant with incredible strategies, but now then you have to go find someone else to execute that strategy and you don't know what their skill sets are. So I'm glad you figured out both lanes to that model.
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, a strategist will give you a strategy, but a lot of folks are ill-equipped to manage the execution part of
Sure.
it. It is a lot.
So any smart entrepreneur would ask themselves, okay, what's the ROI? And I get it, it varies. But if I'm going to make a significant investment in my social media consulting and management, I should expect what? Roughly.
Well, and I think when people think of ROI, they're immediately thinking of revenue.
Yeah.
And one thing that people have to understand that social media is the top of that marketing funnel. So you're building awareness, and if you're doing it right and you're consistent, you're getting people who are engaging with you. And if you're doing that right, you're getting people who trust you, and building that brand trust is the ROI. That
Sure.
trust is what leads to the dollars. It's not just because you ran an ad. It's because people feel that connection to you and they trust you. Once they trust you, they'll buy from you. That's the ROI.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a value bomb like no other. That is so true, right? They have to know, like, and trust you first before they're going to buy from you.
Absolutely. But I think everyone wants to skip that step.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's also an important point you said, whether you're a new entrepreneur or an entrepreneur is trying to build their brand, you have to get out and network and meet with people and let them get to know you and see that you're real and authentic and genuine and you have integrity and, all those important characteristics that any good human being, let alone a leader within a business, needs to exemplify.
Absolutely. You're right. And I mean, I did it for my own business. I didn't just show up on social media and get business. I was doing all of it. I was networking. I was knocking on doors. You've got to do it.
So what do you say to those who say, oh, I don't want to do video. No, I don't know if this is part of the strategy that you do. And it may be for some businesses where you get the leader or someone in the business, or like you said, you work with brands, you work with small businesses, you work with large businesses. So I would imagine with brand people like myself, you say, Jay, you got to get yourself out there, right? You got to put yourself on video. You got to get comfortable and blah, blah, blah. And if someone said, but Rachel, I'm just not comfortable doing that, you would say
that you're not alone. That's probably the majority of the answers that I get. And the good thing about this is that video alone doesn't have to be the big strategy. Mm-hmm. Any type of rich content, and I'm going to say podcast is a rich content source, blogging is a rich content source, video is a rich content source. And I got my start, I really got kind of national and international actually by blogging, because I also did not like to be on video. So I could totally relate to all of my customers who were in that situation. But the one thing that I've learned about video shy folks is that once they understand the beauty of editing, everything's okay, because it all comes down to the editing. I hate being on camera myself, but when I see what my video editor's done, when it's all finished, I'm like, perfect. So it's not, if being on camera scares you, there's a few coaching tips you could do, and it's all in the editing, and you will show up and be present as you should. But again, it's not the only thing. There are other sources of rich content that you can do to put yourself out there if you're truly camera shy.
We'll get to those, what those are here in just a minute. But I think an important point to make is, when I speak to my clients, I say, look, it's not about being perfect. They want the perfect video, the perfect lighting, I said, that's not what it's about, and like you had said, you have a good editor, it can make up for a lot of whatever aspect that perhaps maybe it doesn't meet a certain quality. We just recently started YouTube at the first of the year, and the primary reason is because we had very poor internet service where we live. So I got Starlink, and the quality is better, still not perfect, better. And so we started doing YouTube, but we also hired a new production company, which makes us, or me, look a whole lot better. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolutely. But, I'll say too that for customers who are kind of trying to DIY it, I would definitely recommend even just using the built-in apps that you have with social media. You can do so much on your own if you just have a few minutes to play around, jump cutting, cutting out the beginning and the end. There's just so much that you can do there, and it improves that quality significantly.
Let me rephrase this, are videos still the best way to engage? In other words, do people rather watch or read? And is it dependent on demographics?
Yeah, I would say that, video is huge, and I'm actually going to use Instagram as an example. Instagram has changed what its big thing is like 10 times in the past 2 years. Reels are what they were pushing. So everybody's making reels. Then all of a sudden they changed their algorithm that they're favoring photos. So we changed our strategy to photos. Then we're back to reels under certain time allotment. So I always advise people to do the thing that you're most comfortable with and stick to that. And try to be adaptable. So like I consume content by reading more so than listening to it or watching it. But if I have subtitles, I'm perfect because I might be at the gym or something. I don't want to be, listening to stuff at the gym. I want to see it while I'm on the treadmill. So if you can just be adaptable to other forms, and with AI and all of these other great inventions out there, you can turn content that's written into video form for people who really want to see video. So as long as you can adapt, that's key.
You had mentioned there's some other alternatives outside of video that people could consider utilizing. What would they be?
So blogging for sure. That would be huge. That's what my thing has been. I like to write and tell stories. So blogging, podcasting, and while we're on a video podcast, many people are listening, over audio. So you could do an Audacity or whatever type of podcast. You don't have to be on video. Those are the primary things I would say. If you want to, again, use rich content, there's the other kind of content that you might see on social media that's like feed content or stories that you might see on Instagram or Facebook. That's different because that's not like a longer form, rich source of content. That's more of like a passerby.
So tell me how social media has changed the marketing landscape. Now, I understand you got in 2010. You didn't go to school for it. But I remember when I had my first business that I bought was 1993. We were still doing the yellow pages, and we were doing, mass mailings and things like that. So I just think about the last 30, whatever years that is, 33 years, and I have to laugh. So how has that changed? And more importantly, where do you see it going?
So it's funny you mentioned the yellow pages because they tried to reinvent themselves a few times, and they've hit up some of my customers, especially some of my ones that are more local. And now they're like Hibu, and they're focused on Facebook ads and display ads and some other things, so they've tried to reinvent themselves to what's going on. How it's changed has been so monumental. Any way that people have done things before, it's unless they like live in a small town and that's how everybody's done things in that small town. Globally, everything has changed, and social media is a connection source. It is so powerful. It's a good thing and a bad thing, but it's so powerful. And I think one of the things that I wish that people would kind of understand about social media and where it's going is that, people get hung up on platforms. They're like, oh, I got to do this I got to be on TikTok. I got to be on Instagram. or whatever it is. I remember when I started my business, I would get calls all the time from people, set up my Facebook page for me. And the first question I would ask is, why do you want to be on Facebook? What is it about Facebook that you think is going to, be good for your target audience? They didn't know. They just know they're supposed to be on Facebook. So, with so many things changing, we don't even know if TikTok is going to be around in a year. I've always told people to focus more on their core story. What is that value that they bring, and what's that connection to people? The emotional connection is so huge, because if you have that with somebody, with an audience, they're going to follow you wherever you go. So I liken it kind of like to a hairdresser. If my hairdresser were to leave her salon, as long as it's within a 2-hour distance, I'm going to follow her. I'm not loyal to the salon. I'm loyal to the person. I think the same thing goes for social media. If you can build that emotional connection with your audience, they'll follow you wherever you're going to go.
I believe that to be true for sure. So what are some of the big misconceptions that people have, about social media that maybe is influencing their own marketing strategies within their business?
Well, I think the immediate ROI that we talked about is a big one. It usually doesn't happen that way. I think that's huge. But I think a lot of people really need to understand that this is a medium to be social. It's not a billboard. So like if you post something, you turn off comments and you never look at it again, that's a billboard. You're really there to engage. And I can't emphasize enough, the power of building that emotional connection with your audience. Like less than 0.5% of people share content. But if they share it, they have some sort of emotional connection to it. And there's so much content on the web right now, so much, it's vast, that if content doesn't move, if it's not seen and shared, it's not even worth the time to put it out there. So that emotional connection is really everything.
That's very interesting. And it's a really great point. I never thought of it in those terms. But yeah, the amount of content available is so vast, and you can get just lost, eaten up, swallowed amongst it, where you could have the greatest content in the world, but if no one sees it, what difference does it make? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, if you've been on social media, 3 minutes or more, you've had someone come and attack you or say something negative about you or your business, how should someone handle that?
Okay. So all of our businesses, most of our businesses, we do the community management side for them. And each one is a little different. So we create kind of a guide for each one. For some, so like we work with BYU TV, okay? And for anybody who's not familiar with BYU TV, they're associated with the Mormon Church. So you get people who will comment and be haters and things like that. Our protocol is delete, block, screenshot, hang on to it in case this guy comes back somehow. But when it comes down to a brand that, like, let's just say you're a small business, and you get somebody who's posting negative stuff about whatever it is they bought or their experience in your business, in that case, it's actually a really great opportunity for great customer service. If you have somebody who's not like just a complete a-hole, like if you have somebody who's like truly just had a bad experience, we usually recommend that we respond publicly to them on the feed, but then take it off the feeds, send them a direct message and try to work through it. And we've had so many instances where we've turned bad experiences into good ones, just because sometimes these people need to feel heard.
Sure. So that would be like, hi, Bob, sorry to hear about your experience. One of our team will reach out to you, see if we can resolve the issue, whatever, something like that.
Absolutely. Okay. So it's out there publicly that we didn't just ignore it. Mm-hmm. And then we'll reach out to Bob, and say, so tell us more about what happened.
Sure.
With one of our customers, they're on the front line of like medical weight loss solutions right now.
Yeah.
And they get lots of people that are like spamming their stuff. I don't know why exactly people are against some of these solutions, but anyway, so.
Well, it has to do with the media, because
Yes.
the GLP-1s, Wegovy, and those have gotten a bad rap. And what has come out recently, I intimately aware of this, is that the medical profession is overprescribing as far as the milligram dosage without any support or follow-up. And therefore, these patients are having a terrible experience. And we know now how to use it effectively. It's got to be done in small micro doses that progressively increase over time to avoid any of the potential side effects that people have experienced. Sorry to make a side, but this has been a common thing. It's been all over the media, and of course, the media runs with the negativity.
Right, and so one of the things that this client is doing too, which I actually don't necessarily advise, but they're running maybe 38 ads right now, and it's a huge volume of ads, and without having built that immediate trust with their audience. So that's what we were brought in for, to help with that organic presence. But what we're doing is responding to some of these people, and we actually have a dedicated customer service line where we can escalate their issues if they have an issue, which is great. And for the people that are just negative, we get somebody that will post every day on Instagram, and all the posts, this is a scam. And so, we have people going twice a day just to delete and block, but you'll have that. And I think the most important thing is people need to feel heard. If it's a genuine person that's just unhappy, that can be resolved, and it can actually turn, hater into a really great customer.
Sure, that makes a ton of sense. You referenced before TikTok, and of course there's a push in Washington to ban TikTok unless the CCP divests themselves from the company, the parent company. Don't know where that stands. It's going to happen or not, who knows? But what happens if TikTok goes away?
Well, I think a lot of people assume that people will move to a channel like Instagram, only because there's so much kind of competition between them. But I really think the power in TikTok is the video content. And I think a lot of people are going to move more to YouTube and YouTube Shorts. And I think, like I said before, the channels will change. Your audience will follow you anywhere. But if it goes away, there are other options, and I think that they will go to YouTube.
Are you a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and his work?
Fan is a good question. I would say I'm intrigued by his work. I like watching it because he's very you don't have to guess where he's at.
Edgy.
Yes. Yes. But I don't actually consume his content consistently.
Yeah. I mean, he talks about his new book that just came out, which is a bestseller. One of the overriding themes is just start and do something. You have to do something in today's marketplace. You cannot not, hate to use a double negative, have a presence on social media. Right.
Jeffrey Gitomer was one of my mentors now. He goes way back. Not many people remember him, but he had a little red book of sales, a little black book of sales. And
yes, I remember those.
He wrote Social Boom, which was really one of the first books, on social media. And he said, you just got to get out there. You can't overthink it. You can't try to ignore that it's just gonna go away, right?
Sure.
You've just got to get out there and do it. And you're gonna fumble, you're gonna make mistakes, but not being out there, basically other people are telling the story for you.
Sure. So I mentioned earlier about identifying your target audience. And there's a whole process that I take my clients through so we can really dial that in for them. And the level of clarity that they get is kind of that aha moment for them. And they started, well, why do I need to do this? I said, well, if you're, more than happy just pissing away a significant portion of your marketing and promotion budget to people who are not really interested in your project, then continue to do what you're doing. Yeah. And that usually turns their headspace around, and they're like, okay, we'll do it. But once, people dial in that target audience, is someone like you, are they capable then to geo-target those people specifically so we can utilize those dollars to the best of its advantage?
Absolutely. I think the biggest challenge lies in them actually identifying that target, clearly identifying that target. Once we have that, and sometimes that can be weeks we work with a client before we really drill that down.
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. So many things you can do there. I mean, first figure out where they're at on social media. People make a lot of statements about, I shouldn't be on Facebook because I'm a B2B company. The way I look at that is, well, there are still human beings on Facebook that work in those companies. And I'm not advocating Facebook, or anything like that. I'm just saying that you've got to have an open mind about where the audience is and who it is, and not think in those boxes of I'm B2B or I'm B2C. You really have to kind of come up with your own sort of formula for what will work. And we don't do a whole lot of advertising, but it does supplement the work that we do, especially for our clients who are just starting out on social media. It helps give them that little bit of boost. So it's so perfect for finding that exact person, people, niche that they need to reach to get noticed, especially local customers, because you can target within those parameters of 25 miles of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Sure.
You can really drill that down and get that awareness.
As I told you, we launched a new business in May, and we spent a lot of time on this. And there is a specific company that works with businesses like ours. And we tried one first, and the fit wasn't right. Found another one. So far, it's been pretty good. But again, we're running 2 or 3 different ads. We really do have our target audience dialed in. And I've been amazed by, our cost per lead. It started out very high, and it's really come down a lot into a more ideal target range. The metrics that you use, what specifically are you looking for when you work with a client as far as getting their metrics to a point where you're saying, hey, this is an effective campaign?
Mm-hmm. Well, it really comes down to the goal. So what I just mentioned a few minutes ago was, client that's just starting out, something like that, a great goal would be just getting people to go to their page, getting people to engage with their page. But then we can get more specific. Let's try to get some website traffic. That's where we can really start measuring. And if they have something like Google Analytics, it's perfect. We can set up, and I don't want to get too technical for anybody who's not technical, but we have, UTM codes, which are codes that you can generate where you can specifically see, like, let's say I'm running this ad, or I'm running this just promotion on Facebook. I'm not even putting it out as an ad. I can see exactly, how effective that is on the other side, on how long they stayed on the website. Did they go somewhere else? Did they make a purchase? So you can get really sophisticated there. I think a huge metric, no matter what business you're in or what your goals, is that sharing aspect that I mentioned earlier. When you have those social shares, like, people have the emotional connection to it. We're really lucky that one of the industries that we work with, we work with a television show who has it's on animals, and the guy who's the host of the show actually creates prosthetic limbs for animals. And it's such a great story when you hear the story of how the animal doesn't have a limb, can't walk, puts a limb on, all of a sudden can run around. And that stuff goes viral all the time. People are just sharing. Not everybody has a business like that, but if you could still find a way to build that emotional connection and get that sharing, that's when you know that you have developed something that is actually going to move. And that's really key, because usually the stuff just isn't just seen on its own. It's gotta be shared, and it's gotta be seen by other people.
Sure. Puppies and babies.
Yeah. Animals and babies. You'll never lose.
No, not at all. Not at all. Just go borrow someone's dog or someone's baby.
Yeah, I thought about some fun strategies with that just to see what would happen.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I want to say storytelling is huge. No matter what business you're in, you can tell a story. And one of our clients just got like 2.5 million views on a video last week with TikTok. Yeah, just because of the storytelling, moment. When you could find a really compelling story that people are like, wow, they want to share it, they want to tell the people about it. We actually had a fan that created a pseudo page, a fictitious page of one of the shows that we manage for social media without anybody's permission, and it already has 16,000 followers. They just started it last week, taking the same videos we're putting on TikTok. So there's now it's going to get into a legal thing because they're technically not allowed to do that.
Sure. Right.
But that's how much these fans love the content and want more of it, and create their own TikTok account kind of emulating the content that we're putting out.
It's crazy. So here's what I want to know, and I'm sure my listeners are thinking about this because I've talked to them about it, and we've had an AI expert on back in the spring. How is AI going to revolutionize for the business owner and for their marketing, whether it's creating copy or, I know it's limitless, but where do you kind of see that going?
Yeah. Well, for the business owner who's willing to embrace it, I feel like it can streamline so many things. The things that I spend hours doing manually, I just happen to like pop in ChatGPT. Can you make a chart for this? And it's like in 3 seconds, it's done. You can't underestimate the things that you can do with AI. I'm actually writing a blog post about like 14 ChatGPT prompts that are so strange but save me like oodles of time. I think as far as the marketing side goes, there are so many things. Like I know for us, it helps us with copy. It's really important to like have really great copy, especially something on Instagram where you run more of a story. We could say, here's what we're trying to write. Can you help us craft something that aligns to this target audience, but captures this moment and this CTA? And there it is. You can do so much with that. I mean, I paid for the upgraded ChatGPT, so they have different programs in there where they can create images for you. They can create videos. There's so much it can do. Now, it can't replace a human. That's always going to be my caveat because you need to have human oversight. I can tell when like somebody's written something and it was completely generated by AI and nobody edited it or looked at it, beyond that. So that human touch is so important, but it could do so many things to save time. Even if you're struggling to find your target audience, you could be like, I'm in this business, I run a hair salon, and I'm really struggling to find customers. Can you tell me, give you some ideas for marketing? It's a starting point, and you can go down so many rabbit holes. But it's if you spend some time with it and learn it, and it learns you, it can save you so much time.
It really does. And it's interesting because we put in a new strategy for August, a special referral program. And my director said, she was really busy. She said, because she knows I'm good with writing and speaking and stuff. She goes, can you put something together? And she goes, we'll run with it. And I said, okay. So I did it. And I said, let me put these prompts in ChatGPT and see what comes out. And I'm like, wait, that's way better.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I use that. I don't really care, So the point I'm trying to make is I've spoke to some people like, well, isn't that kind of cheating? It's not fair. It's like, what are you talking about? Your competition's using it. Why wouldn't you want to use it? And if they're not using it, be the early adopter in your marketplace.
Yes. Yeah. It's the sooner you use it and learn it, the easier it gets, over time. And then you've already got it down, because it does have a little bit of a learning curve, especially for it to learn your voice. I've had to train AI about some of the things I don't like and, the verbiage that I need to be humanized. It does take a little bit of time, but it's so fascinating what it can do.
Rachel, do you only get that option with the premium?
No,
ChatGPT?
Not necessarily. I'll just say that, I'm actually, for a majority of the time, using the one that is just a regular ChatGPT. I only get into the more sophisticated ones when I'm looking for something very specific, But no, for it's only $20 a month, by the way, if you do want to, pay for it. But the free ChatGPT can really learn your voice. It has great memory. And it, just today I asked it a question. I said, I have to go to a client meeting and I'm struggling with bringing up X, Y, and Z. Knowing my company, knowing my values, and knowing the things that we stand for, what would be a good way to approach this thing? And it spit it right out, and I was like, genius.
Love it.
Yes.
That's phenomenal. I love it.
Yes.
So where do you see the next big opportunity in social media?
Yeah. I don't think that it's going to be, a specific channel. A lot of people are like, oh, it's going to be some big channel, like a Snapchat thing or something. No. Or something that really goes viral. No, I think it's going to be who can tell the best story. We talked earlier about the volume of things that are on the internet. And to get somebody's attention now, it's 10 times harder than it was 2 years ago. So I think it's really going to be the company that could tell the best story and do that with, authenticity and honesty. The things that have done really well on social media over time are entertaining or they're really authentic. And both get shared, which again is like the key for social media. So as much as people probably don't want to hear that as an answer, the storytelling piece is so huge. And it requires a little bit of energy, but once you've nailed it, you got it. I think everyone also needs to be ready to pivot. I don't know what the next big thing is going to be, but you have to be ready to pivot, whether it means I'm going to leave TikTok and go somewhere else, or I have to create a whole new channel. Finally, I think the other thing that, we're probably going to see is a lot of defragmentation. So, we always had the big channels. We had Facebook and LinkedIn, X. These were all the major channels. I think now we're going to go into more of like these smaller communities, and I'm seeing that with communities like Discord, where they're kind of like outside of the major social media channels. And I do think we're seeing a lot more of that, especially with the Gen Zs.
Is part of that because some of the content's being controlled or suppressed that may not fall? You know what I mean? Like, well, this is probably another question for you. The Supreme Court issued back in early June that, the government, for lack of a better word, can collude with social media companies to maybe limit some content, which was actually shocking to me that was the ruling. But I think we all need to be aware that that's happening, A, and B, how can that influence your business? What if you got deplatformed? And that is your primary source of marketing and promoting, because it has happened to companies. Like, not so much how do you advise? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, that's the reality of it. We are on rented land on social media. That's again why I advocate the rich content source. You have control over your website and blog. You have control over your podcast. When you're on rented land, that's just the reality of it. And it's so unfortunate. But it's also why I recommend people diversify. I think it's really great to have one channel that you excel on, but I always ask for a backup because you just never know what's going to happen. It's rented land.
I'd never heard that term before, and it makes perfect sense. I totally agree with that. So this is, it's been fascinating. All these questions I've been thinking about, wanting to have this conversation with you, and it's been really insightful and a lot of great knowledge you provided. I have one more specific question, and then I'd like for you to share with my audience if they want to reach out to you, learn more about what you do. We'll get to that point. But so entrepreneurs, brand people, whatever it is there a practical tool that you can provide them that maybe would help improve their online presence today?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of one tool. You know what? I'm going to say this. There are too many tools, and there are too many tools that will tell you this is a tool that you need to be using for your social media. There are so many. I don't want to name any names, but you've probably seen them. And it can manage all your social media. It can do everything for you. I think a tool is just a tool. At the end of the day, you still need to have that presence yourself. And so, one of the things about being a social media manager is that, we can draw that out of our clients. Like, what is it that we need to get from them? We'll be the tool and we'll get it out there in the way that's going to make them awesome. But you still have to have that emotional connection. You still need to have that physical presence yourself in some way. You still need to offer some sort of value to your audience, whatever that thing is. Because although you might think it's really awesome, it's up to the audience to know if it's awesome. So a tool is just a tool. Really, again, nobody likes to hear this. It's going to take you in some capacity.
Yeah. So I remember when I first wrote a book on social media, it was Vaynerchuk's Jab, Jab, Right, Cross, where it's like, give content, give value, and then ask. Is that still pretty much the formula? Like, if you can't be always asking, you got to provide, great content to your followers, that it's like, you give value. Is that still a reasonable approach?
100%. I would personally never put anything out there on social media as just an ask. In fact, I rarely have a CTA. I feel like if people really, really like my content, they're going to figure out how easy it is to contact me or learn more about my company And that's just the way I've always been. And I've had coaches, I've had business consultants tell me, no, you need to have more salesy stuff. You need to be more, do this. I've just never operated that way, but it might work for other businesses. It's just my personal philosophy. But they used to be like back in the day, the 80-20 rule, like 80% like really value content, 20% sort of salesy. I'm like 99% value content. So that's just me though. I really think it depends on if you built that level of trust with your audience where you feel like, okay, they trust me so much that they're going to love that I'm going to give them this really awesome discount on this product, or whatever that is. I like to do things that are more exclusive for people that have that trusted audience so that they actually feel like they're getting something from the business that nobody else is getting. And that's probably one of the biggest keys in like, especially small businesses, is having that community where you can offer that exclusive thing that they feel like they're getting and nobody else is getting.
Makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. This has been great. A lot of fun. Any other thoughts you want to lead that we didn't cover? It's like, hey, I think this would be good for everyone to listen and know.
No, I mean, I'm a dinosaur in this business. Like I've been doing this for so long, but just like in this business, I've had to reinvent myself several times. Like I wouldn't be where I am without my team, without bringing on people that are TikTok experts, all these other people, and I think that's key for the social media for anybody that does business too.
Sure.
You have to constantly be ready to reinvent yourself. It's not kind of like just set it and forget it.
I 100% agree with that. I say about 5 to 7 years max. And I think that time period is shortening because of technology. You need to consistently reinvent yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, everything's changing, so you've got to be ready for it.
Yes, exactly. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to learn more about you and what you do, how could they do so?
Sure. Well, they can go to strellasocialmedia.com. So Strella is STRELLA, socialmedia.com. My personal email is Rachel at Strella Social Media. Rachel with just EL, not with another A. And we're a very approachable and personable company. So you won't get anything automated, when you reach out to us. That's how you could find out more. And we're on, of course, every social media platform. So find us for there.
Now, I would be shocked if you weren't. Well, thanks again. I know there's an incredible amount of value you provided to our entrepreneurs, our business owners, our professionals. I know I'm going to go back, not just part of our editing group, but to take some notes here that I've already added to my sheet. And I'm certainly going to be someone who's going to be reaching out as well, too. So, Rachel, again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.
Triple B Nation, that's our show this week. As I always say, you be you. Just be the best you, and I promise you'll always empower your dreams, ignite your passion, and accelerate your prosperity. Until next time, be well.